Hello, I'm Jenny Luscombe, and I'm a facilitator of healing and a passionate advocate of self-healing. So I'm just about to do my show on holistic radio, which happens 5 o'clock till 6 o'clock UK time, um, every Monday. So it would really help me to help others, to help as many people as possible, if you would share the video and like and subscribe if you like what you found here today. So, the topic I'm covering today is all about the ego, really. Um, a lot of people feel that we're on the spiritual path. Our ultimate aim is to let go of the ego. It isn't really what would make sense. So, this show is about disidentifying. So, disidentification, and another word for that would be non-attachment. Thank you for listening.
Called, and so my egos. And it's kind of saying, let your ego go, but in the terms of it, like controlling, so yeah, like you were saying,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
still need to have an ego, but keep it in its place, kind of thing, in check, so it's not ruling you, but you're
Yeah,
kind of master of it, but integrating it into yourself.
yeah, it makes sense. And to make sure that we're not dominating anybody else as well. And I think we're all
Yeah.
control freaks, aren't we, really? Like we're trying to let go of that. But yeah, it's a confusing topic.
I just got a call coming in from my builder, so I'll get back to you in a minute. All right?
Okay.
Catch you in a bit. Right, so we'll crack on then, and we'll learn more about disidentification.
Okay, thanks,
Are you
Andy.
ready?
Yep.
Are you ready, Jenny?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay. I'll do the countdown, press the start button, and then it's over to you. 3, 2, 1.
Hello, this is Jenny Luscombe, and this is Feeling is Healing. And today we're going to be talking about disidentification, or another way of saying that is non-attachment. So if you look online and try to find out some information about ego or healing your ego, it seems to be a common belief that letting go of the ego or rising above it or transcending it or overcoming it, um, I think it's a big misconception, and I think it's an agenda. There is quite a lot of information out there, like trying to tell us that it is actually the enemy, and it's everywhere online. If you just put ego into Google, like see what pops up. So it just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense, which is why I think it's an agenda. And I think it's very similar to how we've been led away from ourselves in every single way. So you just have to look at all the different things that are happening in the world to see how far away from ourselves we've actually got. And obviously I bang on about emotion. That's my thing. And obviously, Big Pharma is all about making sure that we don't connect with ourselves and that we don't connect with our emotion. So, for example, if we have pain, we might go to the doctor and then be prescribed painkillers. So, from my perspective, if we get taken away from our symptom, that's the voice of our body. So that's our body having something to say and shouting. So shouting at us, we need to listen if our body is shouting through symptoms. So yeah, obviously they want us to pop the pills and they don't want us to connect with ourselves, because if we connected with ourselves, we would become sovereign humans and then we wouldn't be paying mega bucks for all these drugs, and we just don't need them. So I've been finding this idea of disidentification very helpful with some things that I've been going through. So I actually think that all of this letting go of the ego, transcending it, the ego is the enemy, having to let go of it, I just think it's a misconception, and I think it's an agenda. And I think we definitely have to choose ourselves. We have to choose ourselves, not disappear and not self-sacrifice, because if we disappeared or we self-sacrificed, that would be very similar to being in a codependent relationship and being dominated by somebody who was narcissistic. And that just doesn't work. We weren't put on this planet to suffer in that way. We were put on this planet to create. So if we if we let go of our ego or transcended our ego, we wouldn't be able to create anything, and it would actually make life pretty meaningless. So um, it's nice to be back. So I haven't done a show for 3 weeks. I've had quite a few different things going on and a few time clashes. I went away to the Stand in the Light festival in Cumbria, which was amazing, even though the weather was terrible. And yeah, I did need a break to deal with some life that's going on for me. So hopefully this information will help all of you with your lives and what's going on for you. So I've had quite a few things go on in my life, which, to say that it has been very close to a Shakespearean production is an understatement. So I hope you're all doing okay. Everything is crazy at the moment. It does seem like the energies are cranking up a notch, but here we are. So I'm seeing very clearly with clients and with myself, all of these kind of archetypal lessons playing out for everyone, and I kind of listen to people telling me what's going on for them, and it's all about relationships and power games and the immature masculine and the wounded feminine, and God's there and Lucifer's there. So it's like a big cosmic Mexican standoff on steroids playing out in everyone's lives. And so what happens for us is bringing the changes that we're looking for in the external. So what we deal with internally is going to be manifested externally. So ultimately, I'm interested in us all rising together, whether we're masculine or feminine. So there's a big cosmic game playing out at the moment where, I mean, basically, if you go back historically, men and women have never actually been in their true power. So the sort of stereotypical kind of toxic male power over and domination, that isn't power. It never was power. That's not what masculine energy is in its true power. And then equally, the female kind of feminist hatred of men, defending, rejecting, angry, that's not power. That's not power either. Oh, sorry, somebody's phoning me. Oh. Um, yeah, so I always set the intention that any information that I put out there helps us to all rise together. So we're basically all learning what it is to be in our own sovereignty, but also we're learning what it is to allow others to be in theirs. So I believe that love and peace is when ultimately you can accept that the other person has a different perspective to you, different perceptions, different feelings, different needs, different desires, different boundaries, different best interests. And even though there's that difference, because they've had a different life to you, they've got different skills, experiences, a different perspective, a different energy, you still take them as a part of you and you still allow them to exist as them. So this is peace when you can accommodate that person's otherness. So our egos need to be integrated, not let go of. We want to have our otherness accepted by others without superiority, without inferiority. So we have to integrate our own otherness as that's seen from others' perspective, not push it away. So conflict happens when you can't accommodate someone else's otherness or when they can't accommodate yours. And narcissism, sort of when you look at that, is ultimately when someone is trying to make you the same as them. They want you to hear what they hear, see what they see, do what they do. And this is not what we're looking for. That's war. So this is spectacularly happening within us. And within our lives and also without, in the external. So, with this being an awake group of people that are listening to this, I kind of know that many of you are experiencing big emotion at the moment as a result of being the black sheep, the scapegoat, the truther, the one that sees, whatever term you want to use for that. It's really complex. And the big emotions are just understandable. They just make sense given your history, your experience, what you've been through. But we're learning on a massive scale that sometimes the emotions, even though they're valid and they contain information if we process them, the very information that we need actually in order to move through it, sometimes the emotions do get in the way of resolve because they are made wrong and bad by people who think that you shouldn't be having those emotions. So anger is always like a very good example of that because it's one of the most kind of socially unacceptable emotions. And there are no emotions that are unacceptable. And I heard Teal Swan. I'm a bit of a super fan of hers, and I do talk about her a lot. I think she's got the answers to many, many things on this planet. I think she's like going to be a world leader because her information just makes sense. And I heard her say recently that the sickest game that a person can play is when they cause pain for a person and then they make that person's emotion about that pain wrong and bad. So I think we probably all know what that feels like. So you've got the scapegoat, you've got the accuser. It's just a situation where there's a different frequency and there's different information that those two people are attending to. So neither is superior, neither is inferior. It just is. And it's a very difficult isness to integrate. So at this time in history, we're currently standing in our physical bodies in the third dimension with higher dimensional frequencies in our consciousness. So it's like we're being stretched and we're attempting to be understood by people who just can't. So this is growth, like in capital letters, this is growth. So in kind of like working on my own healing and helping clients with theirs, I'm finding this concept of disidentification a really good way of kind of reinforcing and confirming kind of what I already know about healing and about emotion. I'm finding it really helpful in my own circumstances as well. So I've got an exercise that you might want to have a little try of before I start to talk about what disidentification really is. So just try this exercise out. So close your eyes and then have a deep breath. And sometimes putting your hand on your heart helps you to tune into yourself. So the reason that I'm asking you to tune into yourself right now is because we're talking about ego, and our biggest attachments that we have to who we are and our basically our identity is our mind, our body, and our heart. So we're very, very, very attached to our mind. So our thoughts, our beliefs, our opinions. So there's our mind, there's our body, and then there's our heart. So there's our feelings, our emotions. So while you're just connecting with yourself, just ask this question. Ask yourself, who am I without this body, without these thoughts, and without these feelings? So it's a real head spinner. So just see what you come up with. Like, who is that? Like, who am I if I didn't have this body and if I didn't have these feelings and I didn't have these thoughts and these beliefs? So when I've done this exercise, I've found it really helpful because many of us on this path, we're all trying to figure out like, how do we embody? Like, how do we let God, how do we let source flow through us? How do we become the divine version of ourselves without the human kind of getting in the way? So without the ego controlling. How do we do that? So this is a perfect question because I think most of us can probably tune into the somethingness that we are. Like there is something that we are, our divine self. We might be quite disconnected from that. But when I've done this and I've kind of sat for kind of 20 minutes, half an hour, just feeling into it, like who am I without this body, without these feelings, without these thoughts, without these beliefs? It kind of feels like awareness. It feels like an awareness experiencing. It feels like a presence, a perception, maybe light. So, who are you in that awareness? Who is that you are without this body, without these thoughts, without these beliefs, without these feelings? It's a really weird feeling. So, I think that that's our higher self. I think it's our God self. I think it's the essence of what and who we are on our way to embodiment. And it's kind of comforting, but it's also there's sort of an aspect of it that is quite scary as well. So just feel into that. And it made me laugh when I was planning the show earlier today. I saw Andy's thought for the day, and it was Alan Watts. And I think it was he was saying, the you who you think you are does not exist. And I thought that's the most apt thing that I could have seen posted on the channel to kind of like tally with what I'm talking about today. So we can actually start a practice of disidentification, and I'm finding it really helpful because it's shown me something that I didn't know, and I love finding out things that I didn't know. So with the practice of disidentification, you can, in theory, begin to connect with who you truly are. So the real you. So this isn't avoidance. This isn't trying not to feel. This isn't trying to kind of wriggle out of anything difficult. Um, it's actually kind of the opposite. So it's just about seeing that we are having lots of temporary experiences that are not us. So that awareness that we felt when we asked, who are we without this body? I think that's the us that has lived past lives. And that is the us that is the spirit that is having a physical experience. And we don't look at that very often. We don't go looking for it. And I think it's really valuable to just kind of get rid of our body for a minute and to kind of tune into that. So I'll just use an example. So, for example, if we feel angry with someone because they've hurt us in some way, so they've hurt our feelings, they've taken us for granted, or whatever's happened, and then they don't own it, sometimes that makes our anger very kind of inflamed, and in that circumstance, our anger makes sense. So the anger itself is not wrong or bad. It's giving us information about our boundaries that are being violated. It's showing us that we might be being bullied or dominated. So we might look at that anger as righteous, it's ours, it's our anger. So you might say, my anger gave me this information. So that's true. It is true. We do need to own our emotions. So they are ours. But there's a very interesting way of looking at this. So if you call it my anger, because you're experiencing it, you reveal to yourself that you have an attachment to it. So it feels like it's a part of you. And I'm not saying that you don't have parts of you that are angry, that you've kind of suppressed from childhood and stuff like that, like we all do. But it's not helpful in terms of disidentification to see it as a part of us. So when we're angry or we're in some kind of strong emotion, we think it's mine, it's my anger. I am anger. I am angry. So it's true in that moment we are, and we've got good reason, and it makes sense that we would be. And I'm not invalidating the anger at all, because that's not what I do. But emotions are a temporary experience, and it isn't helpful for us to make it our identity. It isn't you. It isn't the you-ness of you. It isn't the you that doesn't have a body or a mind or feelings. So when we react to the anger and we shout aggressively and we defend ourselves and we're defending our ego, it doesn't get results. It just pisses the other person off even more, and it doesn't bring resolve. It doesn't bring understanding. So we've all learned this lesson or are still learning it. And I'm quite a reactive person, and I try to take responsibility for that. But I've been reactive enough to be learning that I need to find, as many different ways as I can. That's why I do what I do. So we have to start to see our feelings as, not only valid and understandable, but we have to learn self-mastery. So we have to learn how to master the emotion. So we have to learn how to not be taken over by the temporary experiences. So feeling is healing. So learning to feel it and learning how to manage it is everything. And it does create the outcomes. So obviously there's loads of different things you can do with anger. You can sit with it, you can pay attention to the sensation in your body, you can just be with it, you can listen to the messages that your anger brings. I express my anger by shouting at the sea on an empty beach, which is so therapeutic, and I would highly recommend it. A friend of mine, she screams in her car, which I would also recommend, and I've done a lot of screaming in cars as well. So we have to deal with it. We have to move that energy. It needs to be moved. We have to pay attention to it and allow it to be in motion in our bodies in the way that makes sense for our bodies. So to understand what disidentification actually is, I would recommend doing this exercise. So get a piece of paper and then write at the top what I'm identified with. And then you're going to make a list underneath. So you could put that as what I'm attached to. So in your list, like this could basically be anything that you say, my. So my cat, for example, I'm attached to my cat. I'm identified with my cat. I'm attached to my daughter. I'm identified with my daughter. So this list is going to be all sorts of different things. And this list is basically a never-ending list. You will never complete this list. And you'll see why once you start. So basically, this is the things that your ego has owned. So these are the things that cause strong reactions within you, but this is strong reactions, either positive or negative. So anything that you feel like you're attached to, you're identified with, anything where you could say, I am this, or my. So On my list, I've actually got my list here that I did the other day, and obviously it's not a complete list. You could literally go on and on and on and on forever. So I'm attached to my pink armchair and my clothes and my things, but I'm also attached to things like my business and my healing work and my future and my interest in community living. And obviously, I'm attached to and identified with my mind, my body, and my heart. But I'm also attached to values and concepts like harmony and unity and truth and peace and freedom. And I'm attached to my identity as a facilitator of healing and as a person who is on a quest for truth. You know, I'm identified with my radio show. I'm identified with the idea of being a light worker or a starseed. I'm identified with my friendships. So there's a boatload of things that are positive that we're attached to. And you do hear people say, oh, you have to let go of everything. You know, you even have to let go of your kids. You have to just let go and let God. You have to let God. You have to just trust. You know, I think most parents would agree that letting go of your kids is pretty impossible. But I kind of understand, you know, what people are getting at when they say that. So yeah, the positive stuff. Yeah, it's hard to let go. It would be hard for me to let go of my business, for example, because that's what pays my rent. And it would be hard to sort of let go of the idea of my future. But at the same time, I need to be open to what the universe has planned for me. And I know that the plan of the universe is like way more exciting and interesting than probably any plans that I could make from my human self. So on the other side of the coin, there's the nasties, you know, the difficult things that we are attached to. So for me, and like anybody that is a traumatized human, we don't want to see this, but we are actually attached to things like emotional pain. And for example, like I have a pattern of disappointment. Like I always see what I think is the best of people, and then I always get let down. So I'm kind of on this quest for happiness and never quite meet the right people. So I could say things like, you know, I am perfectionist, or I am struggling to be happy. You know, I am just misunderstood. Um, yeah, there's loads of different things that you could say that are quite difficult. Like if you're the scapegoat and the black sheep, then you are blamed very often for things that other people don't want to take responsibility for. So, like, you know, my subconscious is actually holding all of that, you know, my trauma, like my trauma is what I've built my business on. So I need to be really careful that I'm not identified with my trauma and with the abuse that happened to me and with the turbulence that my life sometimes manifests because of it. So this idea of I disidentification, it's hard to say that word. This has helped me see actually the negative attachments that I have. So I'd never really looked at it this way, and I'm finding it really helpful. So just make that list. So spend some time making that list. So make sure that you have a positive side and a negative side. What are the positive things in my life that I'm attached to? What are the negative things in my life that I'm attached to that have formed my identity? You know, so all these aspects have become part of my identity. And all of these aspects that you've written down have become part of your identity. So, what we need to see here, because we have a conscious mind and a subconscious mind, our egos don't want to lose these things because they formed who we are. So, even if they're negative, so even, you know, my trauma, the turbulence, you know, my difficulty in relationships, like all of that difficult stuff that I teach and I help other people with, that has formed part of my identity. Now, my conscious mind is looking at that and going, oh my God. So it might not seem obvious to us straight away, but subconsciously, we are giving off all of these frequencies into the universe as I ams without even realizing that we're doing it. And we're doing that every day without even trying. So we might be sitting there with our manifestation, I am, I love and approve of myself. I am powerful, sending out consciously what we are creating ourselves to be, which is perfect. But if we have all of this stuff that's also in there, I'm attached to my trauma, I'm attached to having bad relationships. Like, obviously, we don't want more trauma and we don't want more positive relationships. But if we don't notice that these things have become part of our identity and that we have actually become attached and identified with them, then we're sending out into the universe, I am my trauma. I am never happy, you know, and we need to know that our subconscious mind is doing this. So there's no sort of way to, there's no specific way to disidentify. I think it's a very personal process that you probably need to design yourself. But I would recommend that you go through your list and sit with each one because your ego doesn't want to lose these things. So we need to understand our ego, not let go of our ego. We need to understand that our ego doesn't want us to lose these things. So sometimes we do subconsciously manifest the familiar, even if it's hard, even if it's dirty, even if it's difficult. Sometimes we can feel safe with a person who is actually quite abusive if we are used to abuse, if our bodies, our nervous systems have normalized abuse. So we need to know that our ego wants us to keep these things, and that's just how it works. And we're just learning how we work. So in order to disidentify, we just need to take one of those things and practice. So we just need to take that thing and feel into it, feel the sensation of that in our body, feel the feelings of that, and then see it as not you. It's the human self. So it's the separate self. It's the ego, and it's not us. It isn't actually us. All of it is a temporary experience. So you could kind of like, push it away from you. Like I've heard people sort of talk about, imagine you're in a great big space, like a great big warehouse or something, and then you take that frequency out of your body and then you watch it expand in front of you and kind of blow it up, let it move. There's lots of different ways of visualizing. Um, so if you can see what you are not, then you can start to see what you are. So this is a process. If all of this stuff is not us, it's just things that are going on in this life. It's what we've come here to integrate and understand. So it is very confusing because trauma is basically, it has caused the fragmentation of the self. And healing is bringing all of those lost parts of ourself back in. But it's the lost parts of ourself, the real aspects of ourself that got lost. None of it is actually us. It is kind of a confusing thing to understand. So integration is the opposite of fragmentation. Integration is the bringing back of the parts of the soul that got fragmented. So um yeah, we have to, like, if this kicks up some feelings, that's good. So just feel the feelings of it, but kind of put the thing that you are attempting to disidentify from over there so you can look at it and contemplate it. Now, this is not you avoiding that thing, and it's not you even pushing it away. It's you feeding it with your awareness. So if you just look at that thing, so for example, I could take, the idea of I am misunderstood. I am always misunderstood, right? So I could just put that over there and look at that. So when I did this earlier today, I started to see what I am as opposed to what I am not. So using that example, I'm always misunderstood. So being misunderstood is not actually a thing that I'm doing, but my ego has owned it because it's just been kind of like a lifelong experience that my ego has interpreted, oh, I must be confusing, or I must be intimidating, or I must be weird, or what if people don't understand me, or whatever. So I'll have all these stories about other people misunderstanding me. But if I put it in front of me and I feed it with my awareness, and I'm choosing with my conscious free will to disidentify from this because I know it's not me, I can just say to myself, that's not me. That's something that sometimes happens. It doesn't happen all the time. And it's also about other people. That's not me either. It's about other people's perceptions of me. So that's not me. That's none of my business. So my ownership of the idea of being misunderstood is just a reaction. It's just a reaction of a perception of other people's perceptions. I mean, it's kind of funny when you look at it, like the tangled web. And like most of us have got enmeshment trauma. So most of us became completely enmeshed with our families. Like we didn't know where we ended, where we began, where we start, where other people finish. Because there's so much hijacking going on of energy, like power over, codependence, like manipulation, like everything that goes on. It's no wonder that we don't know who we are. It's no wonder that we don't know where we begin and where we end. So, my ownership of being misunderstood, yes, it's an experience that I've had a lot, but it isn't actually me. It's a reaction, it's an interpretation of an experience. And it's more to do with other people than it is actually to do with me. So it's like a feeling, it's a temporary experience that I haven't fully kind of worked through yet. Maybe it's a chosen experience that my soul came here to bust wide open. Whatever it is, I am not that. And, you know, I'm setting the intention that I'm choosing for my subconscious to let go of owning it because I'm not that. So as soon as you can bring your awareness to, oh, I did own that. I tell that story. I tell that story to my friends in the pub, to my family, I talk about it on the radio. As soon as you realize, okay, I'm telling the story, I'm telling the story, I'm telling the story, um, and you keep practicing that, you're kind of keeping it alive, but you don't have to. You can just say, oh, it is something that I have kept experiencing, and it is more to do with other people than me. Isn't that interesting? So there's no process here for me to show you how to do. It's just a case of you choosing. Because ultimately, like this spiritual war is all about free will. It's about us choosing ourselves. So I think this is a really, really important conversation to have with yourselves and with each other. So you can feel the intensity of it in your body. You can feel, oh my God, yeah, he doesn't understand me. She doesn't understand me. You can feel the feelings and the sensations of that in your body. And that in itself will help you to start pulling out the plug because that's just your body's expression of the intensity of that. So basically, we're causing ourselves all this trouble when we do identify with all of this. But it's kind of an anomaly because we have to identify with it in order to heal it. So we have to accept that it's there, not push it away. We have to accept that it's there and put it in front of us and see that it makes sense, but then choose not to own it entirely, to just disidentify, to just see that it's a temporary experience. And I think it's something that you just have to do yourself. Um, because we all basically, I mean, everybody who comes and has sessions with me, basically every single person and myself, to some degree, like humans, we all feel like there's something wrong with us. We all feel like there's something wrong with us and everybody else has got it right. So it's all about the other person's action that has caused you to have that idea about yourself. So it's not an easy thing to explain. It's not an easy thing to describe, but I hope you kind of get where I'm coming from with this. So um, I think that at this time we're being called very strongly to be ourselves, regardless of what other people think of us. We have to have our views and our opinions, and we have to just be that. And we have to get on with being who we think we are, regardless of whether other people approve of us or not, which in itself is very, very hard. But when you get your list in front of you, basically say to yourself, none of it is me. My daughter isn't me. My truther identity isn't me. Like if I was on another planet where it was all love and light, I wouldn't need to be a truther. It's only the fact that I'm on Earth that I'm one. It's not me. It's something I've attached to. My business isn't me. It's what I do for a living and it's what I'm fascinated by. And I teach people what has helped me because I want to be in service. But it's not me. You know, maybe there's other things out there that I might end up doing that are not this. I have to be open to that. So just have a look at your list and know that on some level we have to try to I think letting go of it is really not the phrase, not the way of looking at it. Like we have to disidentify with it. We have to see our otherness and we have to see that it's not us. So this is all about not pushing away the ego. We need to integrate the ego. So we need to look at what is not us in order to figure out what is us. So this is about learning to be ourselves as the creator that we are and not abandoning or pushing away the selves that we actually are. And it's about standing in our own energy and allowing other people to have their free will journeys. And yes, obviously our paths cross, and some of us are walking our paths together, when we've got families and friends. Um, but, ultimately, in these truth wars and everything that are going on, like we have to just see that everybody is right. Everybody is right from their own bank of knowledge and wisdom and experience. Nobody's going to be sort of like trying to defend a position that they don't have. Like everybody is right, but we just have to allow people to be over there doing their thing while we're over here doing our thing and hope that they allow us to just be us while we're allowing them to be them. There is no right and there is no wrong at this point. And there is no up and there is no down. There's just who we choose to be, who we want to be. It's I think that the integration of the ego can help us be the us that we actually are. So it's a bit of a head twister, this one. And I'm still kind of processing this. So yeah, you've caught me in the middle of a bit of a brain teaser. But I hope that's helped. So I'm going to stop talking now. If anybody listening wants to have a word about that, I'd be interested to see what your angle is on the ego and disidentification. But thanks everyone for listening.
Yeah, I found that fascinating. Kind of relate to some of the things you were saying, but I think I've just identified myself with my ego quite a long time ago, and just allowed me to be me, and just live my life as happy as I can, without the interference of other people, either coming from me or to me. All my daughters have grown up. The son's grown up. He's the youngest, and there's just me and my dog and my cat. So my list isn't going to be very long because I'm not attached to where I'm living. I'm not attached to the things that I have.
Yeah.
Because it can disappear tomorrow, and I would still be the me. I would still be the same person. So I don't. It's definitely food for thought. It's definitely probably worth listening back to as well, and see if I can get more out of it. One thing that did spark a memory with what you said was when I was about 13 or 14 at school. They sent us on a day trip, as they do, probably experienced them yourself, where they send you away for day trips, and they sent us one time to this place. I don't know why we were there. I don't know what was the purpose, but the breaking the ice thing that they did when we were all there, they got us all to lie down on the floor. There was about 20, 25 of us from school at that age, and what they did was profound for me. I don't know how it affected any of the other kids, but what they did, they got us to lay down on the floor, and then they got us to meditate. I didn't know what it was at the time. I didn't realise until it was much later. But what they did, they asked us to imagine our feet slowly disappearing, and then to your ankles, and then up to your knees, and then eventually, after working through all the parts of your body, I'm making it very brief. It took quite a while for them to process this, but eventually all that remains is a dot in the center of your forehead, and letting go of the body, and I think letting go of the ego, that's what that was trying to do, because then the focus then was just on this dot. That is the entirety of you, this little dot in the center of your forehead, and it had a profound effect on me, and changed how I looked at the world, how I behaved, how I thought. So I kind of think that's very, very similar to letting go of the ego, because it's focusing on nothing else, not your body, just your inner you, your inner thought.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, and you hear people say be like water, don't you? You know, just be in the flow, like just kind of. Yeah, I liked it when you said, I'm not attached to where I live, because I'm kind of like that as well. Like I've been quite nomadic over the past few years, and I've moved a lot, and um, yeah, it's kind of like when you're being moved, the universe moves you. That's kind of, I think, a good way to understand embodiment, isn't it? Like if you don't have attachments, then you're kind of open to infinite possibilities rather than being kind of stuck on a track that you can't get off, you know. I mean, I think like even if you're happy where you are, I think it's important to not be attached. I think it's just about
Yeah,
being.
very much so. I mean, I lived in the van life for 8 years,
Mm,
and it wasn't something I planned, but
mm,
with reflection and looking past that before, and where I was and what I was doing, the happiest time in my life, from a personal perspective, was when I lived in my van.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
without the ties to having a house and all the things that come with that. And it was an awesome experience. Something that I don't think I would have done if I was in a relationship. I think because I was single, it made the whole thing much more appealing initially. And then as I got into it and I explored all the different things that I could explore, it just got better and better.
Yeah, I can imagine that. And I've never done the van life. I mean, I did used to have a camper van a few years ago, but I never lived in a van. And it does really appeal to me. And, maybe it might be something that I end up doing. And I know people who live in vans as well. And it makes so much sense, especially given everything that's going on in the world. Um, but yeah, I think being like water and just experimenting with it, our consciousness is the only thing that we've got left in a way that hasn't been kind of destroyed or interfered with. So if we can just sit and experiment with what we're not, and then allow that to point us towards what we are, like you hear people say, like, you only know black because you know white, and you only know what you want because of all your experiences of what you don't want. So if we let go of all the things that we are identified with, then it has to point us back to who we are. And I think that that's just like a muscle that you flex. I think that can just grow, that idea of connecting with yourself. Because people do find it really hard, who am I and what's my purpose? And it is a quest. And like, if people haven't already used processes to connect with themselves, it's kind of a really weird, surreal thing to start to do. But yeah, I think questions are always really powerful. Like if you can ask yourself the right questions, then you have to get the answer, because sending out a question into time and space like that has to come back to you, because that's how energy works. So yeah, who am I without my body? Who knows?
May I say a few things, Jenny?
Sorry.
May I say a few things?
Yeah, go for it, Kevin.
Okay, well, personally, I never attach any negative words to these two words. I do not say I am anger. No, no, no. I am experiencing the emotion of anger, and then I release it from my energy to flow away. I do not hold to it. It is not part of me, and I will never say I am something negative. It's just not part of me. Our negative attachment should never be proclaimed unless you want to own it. Manifesting negative feelings are normal, but they will anchor us in those beliefs of ourselves. If we choose to change our beliefs in ourselves, we can let go of those parts of ourselves, heal, then integrate health back into ourselves. But if we continue to hold on to these things that are less than our true selves, or been told to us by others that are negative about complaining about us, about me, no, it's release. If they want to say I'm something I am not, they are no longer part of my life, because no one can tell me who I am or what I'm capable of or whatever. I don't have attachments to any place or way of thinking. I can always grow into a new way of thinking or evolve to a new way of believing something, and release everything I own here. I can let it go because they're just attachments. I would like to keep a few things, of course, but all these attachments that I own here, that I've accumulated over my life, they're not important. My peace of mind is important. I'm going across the country in 2 weeks and coming back with someone, hopefully, and starting a whole new chapter of my life. So I don't have limitations. I don't have saying, oh, I can't do this. I'm not capable of that. I'm this, I'm something negative. No, I'm limitless. I focus on love, peace, harmony, abundance for myself and for all others I'm around, comedy and music, and just proclaiming joy of life. And, that's it. No more negative nonsense about, oh, I'm sick of this or sick of that. No, I'm abundant in all ways. And in my health, especially, I do not say I'm anything that I'm not, because I am healthy, I am wealthy, I am wise within. So, as within, so without, as above, so below. So, this is where we got to focus on, not those negative emotions that we've experienced in the past. We got to let them go. We got to heal them. Shadow work, that's what shadow work is all about. You heal them, transmute them back into joy and bliss, and go forward, free of all that negative energy. There you go.
Thanks, Kevin. Yeah, I agree with most of what you said. Yeah, I totally agree. But I do think that we can go consciously in the direction of our dreams and do what we want with our lives. I like that you feel limitless, and I do in some ways. But if we are manifesting something in our life, it's just a clue from our subconscious that we had an attachment that we didn't know that we didn't know. So I kind of see myself as a bit of a detective. Like if something occurs in my life that's unwanted, then I'm not going to avoid that thing. I'm going to look at it and I'm going to feel it. And then I'm going to understand that that was a manifestation, not of my conscious mind, because it was unexpected. It took me by surprise. I didn't create it knowingly. So it must have come from the wider part of my consciousness. It must have come from my subconscious. And then I can take that unwanted thing as a clue to a suppressed I am that I had in my subconscious that I didn't know was there, if you see what I mean. So it's just about excavation. It is a form of shadow work, I guess. But I'm finding it helpful to look at disidentification. It's like kind of looking at what I already knew, but from a different angle. Because I hadn't thought of, I mean, everybody's got aspects of themselves that they know are difficult or negative. And I don't think it's helpful for people to pretend those aren't there or to avoid looking at them. I just think that I think it was Carl Jung said, whatever you resist persists. And not only does it persist, but it actually gets bigger if you don't look at it. So I think we have to look at it. We don't really have much choice. If we have a pattern, like a repeating pattern, we do keep working on it as healers and awake people. We keep bringing our awareness to it. But if it keeps happening, there must still be something subconsciously that you are creating, not knowingly. And it probably wasn't you that really put it there. It probably was as a result of something that happened to you. I see it all as a clue. It's a clue. So as soon as something unwanted happens, then you can look into that. And I think it's helpful to kind of say to yourself, that's interesting. That's interesting, because then, you're moving towards it. You're not resisting it. If you move towards it and you're scratching your chin going, what's this all about? Then you will get deeper understanding. And I think that's what works. That's how I let go of things.
Here's a simple example. Guinness. Okay, I love a can of Guinness, a pint of Guinness, and but right now I'm not drinking any Guinness. I'm not drinking any alcohol. But as I told my friend this morning, I said, even though I'm not drinking Guinness, I'm not attached to it, because I might have one on St. Patrick's Day on March 17th, because in remembrance of the time I was in Ireland, or out of memory for my grandmother who was born in Belfast, or St. Patrick. St. Patrick himself. So I and don't say I don't drink. I say I choose not to. I don't say I don't do prescription drugs, and I don't, but I choose not to. Or eat beef or eat pork. I choose not to. It's not that I used to. I know what it's like to drink a Guinness or have a steak. I know what it tastes like, but I just choose. Or I remember what bacon used to taste like too. I just choose to never put that in my body again. So it's not an attachment. Those things that I've released, they're no longer part of who I am. So whether it's a Guinness, that's no longer who I am. But it could be on March 17th next year. It could be part of my life then. So I never say never with many things, like a cigarette. I'm going to go have a cigarette with these guys out here. I don't smoke, but I'm going to have a cigarette. And one will not lead to two. In maybe 3 or 4 more days, it might lead to another cigarette because I choose to. So having that freedom to choose where I want to go, what I want to do, is limitless. What is their fear? Oh, if you have one cigarette, you're gonna get addicted. Oh, that's fear. I don't know fear, so why would I even think that? Why would I think if I open that carton in the fridge I keep for my friend? Why would I think if I have one cigarette on that carton, I'm gonna smoke it all? No, it's not gonna happen. I swear it's not gonna happen. I might have 5 between now and the time I pick her up in 2 weeks or whatever it is. But that's the thing. Freedom. Freedom to choose. Freedom to go where you want. Freedom to like the sage or like something else. And no one could put limitations on you, Jenny, saying, Jenny, do not do that because you did it before and blah 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 blah. Because you're sovereign. You are the ruler of who you are. Whichever way you want to go, you go. Don't let anyone tell you which way you got to go. Don't let any guru tell you which way to go. Be your own guru. Be your own teacher. Be your own student. That's all you got to do. You don't have to look outside yourself for answers. All the kingdom of God is within. Jesus said that to us. And that's where it is. That's where all answers are, within. All.
Thanks, Kevin. I mean, I think choice. I think choice is the meaning of life. I think we do get to choose. But I think, the universe is providing us with a great big mirror for a reason. So if we don't look at the evidence around us and we don't pay attention to the things that happen to us and see that as a reflection of our inner self, our subconscious, I think we're missing a trick. I think it's everything to be paying attention to what other people say, what other people do around us, especially as that applies to us. It just makes sense to me. But yeah, I
do others no harm, and I just be carefree me. Why should anyone else's expectation of who I should be matter to me? It doesn't, and that's why I can pick up and go.
Well, it's not about whether it matters to you. Like, it's about if somebody comes out of nowhere and they disrespect you, for example, or they attempt to dominate you, or something happens that you haven't created consciously, then you need to take that thing that's happened to you and you need to take responsibility for it. And you need to ask yourself, where's that come from? Why, there's part of me creating that. I need to go within. I need to look at that.
I think that's on them. No, their opinion.
But you attracted them. You attracted them, Kevin. that's up to you, Kevin. Maybe the universe works differently for you. I don't know.
Interesting. I suppose what I was thinking right there, listening to what. So are you as well. It's like if I don't go out, if I don't leave the house, then I'm not going to put myself in a situation where other people will be attracted towards my presence for whatever that reason might be. And say if I went to the local market and I sat down, in fact, this used to happen to me all the time with boys. I would be sat alone in a bar, and I would just be drinking whatever it was that I was drinking, and some random person would just side up to me and start talking to me. I didn't invite them over, I didn't say anything or make eye contact. But I used to call it, I seem to attract the nutters.
Yeah, I'm quite like that.
and it's like, but if I hadn't have been in the bar, if I didn't go, then I would not have had the encounter by whoever it was that decided that they wanted to come over and start talking to me.
Yeah.
It would be male, it would be female, there was no that sense.
Yeah.
But my instigation of the exercise is because I put myself in that situation, and understand how do you deal with it, and then that's where the thing starts to grow. Then do you dismiss them? Do you tell them to go away?
Yeah.
Do you engage with them, and so on?
Yeah, it's funny because I've had that thought as well.
I choose to engage everyone, and then like I engaged some Mexican guy, and I got his children going to look after my plants while I'm gone. So, so I engage everyone, and then after I engage them in conversation or a smile or a joke, I like to disengage everyone. So then I figure out, this guy could be dangerous. I don't want to hang around this guy again. Even if it's my brother, this guy could be dangerous. He outweighs me by 50 pounds. I might not want to trigger him, right? So it's all a matter of choice. If you engage everyone and love everyone equally and for who they are, you can pick and choose. Keep this one in my life. I'll not keep that one. No, that one makes me feel yucky. You know what I mean, right? It's all a matter of our choice. Who we allow into our lives, who we allow to stay in our lives, who edifies us, who makes us feel rotten, or who makes us feel happy and gay and joyful. But when you try to put that forward, happy and joyful and friendly, you can approach anyone, a homeless person, a deranged person, someone that's very ill in their head. You can approach them. If you approach with kindness and love, with no pretense or wanting something, just say, "How are you?" That can be done to anyone in the whole world without fear. And but people are always, why are you talking to that person? No, that's not me. I talk to anyone. Full stop.
Yeah, I think it's who you draw into your reality, though. It's not just random. It's, all those people that are appearing to you are frequency matches for what you've got going on in your frequency. So some of it's going to resonate with you, and you'll see why you attracted that person in terms of positive aspects. But then there's going to be negative aspects as well that sometimes take you by surprise, like the person you just said, they feel unsafe or they feel yucky or whatever. That has to be a reflection of something within you. So then if you think to yourself, okay, I don't want to attract people with that frequency again. If you pay attention to that frequency and you ask yourself, where, what within me has caused me to attract that person, then, you can look at the sensation in your body, you can feel into that, and then you can ask for a memory. Where did this come from? And then if you go to that memory, then you'll figure out, oh, there was something that I suppressed. There was something that I didn't complete. There was something that I didn't fully heal because I was young, or I was, nobody explained to me what was happening, or like you can have control over what you then move into and what you then attract.
If I'm the master of my own ego, I can approach anyone, whether they're good for me or bad. I can approach anyone, and then decide. It's nothing about mirroring or attracting what I'm judging. No, if I engage everyone, I'm not judging anyone. I don't even know half the people I engage with. So no, I'm not attracting something I judge or anything like that. Once I meet an individual, whether it's a child, a woman, a man, or a dog, then after I see the reaction of the individual from what I say and what words I use, then I say to myself within, not to them, oh, I better not further engage this individual because this person could be dangerous. Or this person makes me feel uncomfortable. I don't want to be around this person. See you later, alligator. So yeah, that's how I do it.
Well, you can still use discernment as well as activate your own consciousness and create your own reality. You can do both.
Oh, of course, of course. Yeah, imagining creates reality. So Dr. Joseph Murphy taught me that one. And I am Neville Goddard. You should really do research and listen to Neville Goddard's lectures, Jenny. It will help you greatly.
Yeah, I've listened to him a little bit. Yeah. Thanks, Kevin.
Oh, my pleasure.
Well, we're at 12 minutes past. If Carly's joined as well. Fascinating show, Carly. If you want to listen back, obviously you can do. I'll post the recording up very shortly.
Oh,
Jenny,
indeed, I will be. Thank you.
Hi, Carly.
If you want to wrap up the recording part, and then I'll stop the recording, and then we can carry on having an answer afterwards.
Okay, thanks, Andy. Yeah, gosh, it's so, I don't know. I don't even know how to summarize this. Like, I don't know how to round it up. It's really quite complicated. But yeah, I would say do the exercises. So do especially the one, and you don't even have to do anything with it, but it's just a really good idea. So ask yourself, who am I without this body, without these thoughts, without these feelings? And then just sit with that and see it as a kind of quantum leap into who you really are. And like Alan Watts said, obviously, the you who you think you are does not exist. So if that's true, if who we think we are doesn't exist, then who are we? So have a go at that exercise, and also have a go at writing your list. What am I attached to? What am I identified with? What has my ego owned? What are the positive aspects and what are the negative aspects that my consciousness, my ego is attached to? Because it will give you a clue about repeating patterns. So you may well have some subconscious I ams going out into the universe that you obviously haven't intended to do. So you might have, stories that are subconsciously manifesting difficult stuff that you didn't know you were doing. So if you can experiment with that and disidentify from those, then I think you're winning a little bit more than you were before. But thanks everyone for listening. See you next week. Bye.
I've stopped it there. Perfect. Absolutely fantastic, Jenny.
Thanks, Andy.
So, what have you got planned for the rest of the evening?
I think I'm going to go and cook something. It's quite a nice day here, actually. It's been quite sunny. So I might pop out for a little walk, actually, because I've not moved much today. You know, when you have those days where you haven't really done enough movement. Yeah. I'll go to the beach for a change.
I didn't mind my diet drive and my opinions.
No, I don't mind, Kevin. Like I think it's good to be challenged, and obviously we're all different, aren't we? We're all coming from different experiences, and we all have our different wisdoms. But yeah, I don't mind being challenged. It's all just an adventure through time and space, and none of us really know, do we? Like the more we go down these rabbit holes, like the less we know, quite honestly.
Yeah, you can spend a lifetime going down rabbit holes and still be none the wiser on the other side.
Exactly. Yeah. I think it's very humbling to be back to the drawing board all the time, isn't it? Like, oh, I thought this and then it wasn't, and then back to the drawing board. But yeah, that's what we all seem to be doing, finding different ways. And
every day for me, Jenny, every single day I'm saying, oh, I better throw that part in the delete box and bring something new in.
yeah, it's a difficult one.